Welcome, Boise State fans. Welcome into another edition of Bronco Nation Live. I'm Nick Wade, your host, and thank you for being here tonight. If you're watching live, welcome. If you're watching on replay, welcome home. If you're watching on YouTube, hop into the chat with your questions and hot takes, and we'll work them into the show. So let's get into it. Tonight's show is loaded. We've got beach volleyball, men's and women's tennis, track and field, softball, esports, men's basketball, the roster movement, and full spring football update. And throughout the show, you'll hear me reference our Bronco Nation update shows, Bronco Talk shows, and Blue Turf Talk content, because this channel isn't just highlights, it's conversations, it's access, and it's stories you're not getting anywhere else. All right, let's start where the energy was loudest this weekend. Let me ask you something. How often do you actually feel momentum in person? I asked that because I felt it this weekend. I was at the Boise State Beach Bash, and the energy was real. I got to see in first person the dominance of Ava Anderson and Addison Wolden up close and personal on court 2. I was able to see them just dominate this weekend. Boise State Beach Volleyball opened the Beach Bash in dominant fashion, sweeping South Florida 5-0, and then defeating Florida International 4-1 on their home courts. Those wins pushed the Broncos' home winning streak to 26 straight duels, a streak that dates back to 2020, and currently ranks as the 5th longest active home winning streak in the nation. Being out there in person, what stood out wasn't just the wins, it was the composure and no panic, no rush, just execution. Especially, speaking of execution, I got to see also firsthand one of our Bronco Talk participants and guests, Serena Vandermeid, and her partner, Allison Alden, in court 1. And they operate like surgeons out there. They are just, when they have the lane open for a volley, you can cancel Christmas if they're volleying it back and they've got that lane open. Once again, Uh, Ava Anderson and Addison Wolden set the tone. They broke the program record for most career wins from the number 2 position. And by the end of the weekend, their performance earned them Big 12 Pair of the Week honors. That award matters because it confirms something important. Boise State isn't just competing in the Big 12 since they began this year, their inaugural season. They're being recognized in it. If you want a deeper insight into this team, we've brought it directly to you. We've recently released Bronco talk shows featuring Serena Vandermeide, Ava Anderson, Addison Wolden. Those interviews give you the most insight behind their success, how this team trains, communicates, and handles pressure. Even after later losses to Grand Canyon and Washington, the bigger picture doesn't change. This is a nationally ranked program. This team is built for postseason play. And next up, Boise State heads to the Alki Invitational in Seattle tomorrow. They'll be taking on Portland and Washington, Oregon, and Florida Atlantic. And then after that, they'll be traveling to Tucson for the Big 12 Conference Championship. So momentum fades, but belief compounds. And I think, after seeing this team in real life over the last couple weekends, this team is for real. They're nationally ranked, and they are a force to be reckoned with, even in the Big 12. Next, we're going to head on over to men's tennis. Quick question. How do you judge progress when the final score doesn't go your way? Boise State men's tennis went on the road to Logan, Utah, and dropped a tough 4-2 match against Utah State, a team that clinched the Mountain West regular season championship with that win. But this match told us more than just a score. The Broncos took the doubles point, and they competed on every court in Logan. Philip Soderquist once again showed why he's one of the most impactful freshmen in the conference. Soderquist earned his 4th straight singles win, and that effort earned him a 3rd Mountain West Freshman of the Week honor this season, the most by a Bronco freshman since 2022. Carson Baker and Avery Talixon also hit a milestone, earning their 20th doubles victory together, placing them among the top 15 single-season doubles teams in program history. Step back and look at the season as a whole. Boise State is 19-8 overall. They're ranked number 65 nationally, and that's the highest in the Mountain West, and they're ranked number 56 in the UTR. Even though they lost the regular season championship to Utah State, overall, that's consistency. Next up, the Broncos return home for one final time to face UNLV on April 18th on Saturday at the Appleton Tennis Center, followed by a senior ceremony. This team has earned its postseason opportunity. Growth doesn't announce itself, it just proves itself, and that's what this program has been doing. And then we'll flip it over to the women's side. Women's tennis, let me ask you this. How confident do you have to be to lose the doubles point and still expect to win? Boise State women's tennis continues to build one of the best seasons in program history, the most since joining the conference, sweeping New Mexico in their final home match over the last weekend. Earlier in the week, they also delivered a gritty road win against Air Force, overcoming a loss in doubles point and finding 4 singles wins. At the center of it all, this is a no-brainer. Zdena Safarova. She clinched the Air Force match from the number 1 spot, followed it with another dominant singles win against New Mexico, and once again earned Mountain West Player of the Week honors for the 3rd time this season, 7th of her career. That now gives Safarova 7 career weekly awards, among active players in the conference. Freshman Carla Gignac also earned Mountain West Freshman of the Week, continuing Boise State's trend of sweeping weekly awards. We recently sat down with Zdena Safarova on a Bronco Talk. And if you want to understand how elite competitors approach pressure moments, that interview is live now on the channel. Now comes the biggest test. Boise State travels to Logan, Utah, with the chance to clinch at least a share of the Mountain West regular season title, something that the program has never accomplished with that feat. So confidence isn't loud, but it's consistent with this team. When we had Zdena Safarova on, she's not the loudest, but the thing about her is she is very confident, and I'm glad that she's a Bronco and not anybody else, not on anybody else's team in the league. Now we're going to switch it over, and we are going to head on over to track and field. Here's a real question. What does elite look like before championship season? I would have to say that the track and field team has been showing an eliteness since kind of a rejuvenation this season. They had a little bit of a different vision going into 2026, and I think they've delivered it so far in the indoor season and making their way so far in the outdoor. Boise State track and field delivered a massive weekend. Raekwon Witherspoon tied the school record in the long jump at a 7.89 meters, a mark that ranks 7th nationally. That's awesome. That performance earned him the Mountain West Athlete of the Week honors for the 2nd straight week, something no Bronco has ever done in our track and field program. The Broncos also recorded a 5-event win at the NNU Open, 22 collegiate personal bests, and then they also had the 5th fastest 4x100 relay time in program history. Priscilla Adu-Giamfi added a 3rd fastest 400-meter time in Boise State history. Next up, the Broncos head to the Byron Clay Invitational, one of the premier meets in the country. This team is building something real. Records fall, but standards rise. And you can definitely say that the standards are rising for the track and field program with what Coach Green is doing over there.
When it comes to painting, precision matters. Crosby Custom Coatings, led by Scott Crosby since 1979, delivers elite craftsmanship for homes and businesses across Boise. With attention to detail and a commitment to excellence, they make every surface shine. Call Crosby Custom Coating today at 208-370-4696 and bring color and quality to your world. That's 208-370-4696.
All right, let's talk a little softball here. Let me ask you something here. What does toughness look like when the competition never lets up? The softball team started out really, really good, making some school history by winning a couple top 13 ranked teams to begin the tough road season. But since then, just their level of experience has kind of shown they've been really kind of going back and forth between the 500 line. Right now, they are currently 20-26 with a 6-8 conference record. They're sitting just outside the line to make the postseason for Mountain West at number 8, but there's still time for them to make that jump up into the top 6 and guarantee themselves a spot at the table. Really, with a team like this who experienced some major turnover with the roster and the staff over the offseason. Coach Schultz isn't expecting a regular season championship, but he really wants to see this team grind it out during the regular season here in conference play and get into the postseason and capture the Mountain West Championship in the tournament and punch their ticket in for regionals. That's really the goal of this year for Coach. And so Boise State softball continues to face one of the toughest schedules in the country. The Broncos battled number 20 Grand Canyon, marking their 17th game against a top 25 opponent this season. Last weekend, Kate Penberthy continues to lead the offense. She homering again and now sitting at 10 home runs on the season, including 4 straight games with a homer. She's only the third Bronco to do that in school history. Lola Ray McNamara made her 34th pitching appearance, and so she's sitting second in that category nationally. A lot of work for the freshman, and then the Broncos had a 1-game road trip on Tuesday against Idaho State, where it was a couple former Broncos who proved to determine that game. And you had former Bronco Sydney Groves. She smacked a 3-run home run in the bottom of the first, and then had another former Boise State pitcher come in relief and pitch a couple good innings. And Idaho State took down the Broncos at their home turf. Next up, Boise State returns home tomorrow on Friday, and they're going to host UNLV for a 3-game series. It's alumni weekend, and also there's going to be bark in the park. So make sure you get your tickets and support this young team who's trying to battle this out, grind it out, and make the postseason. Tough schedules build tougher teams, and so anxious to see how the Broncos continue to push forward and how they're going to grow from this adversity they've seen this season so far. Esports was an exciting part of Bronco Nation updates this last weekend. So let's talk standards. How many programs expect championships? Well, I can tell you one thing. Our esports program is one of the best in the country. And when you come to Boise State and commit to the esports program, that's an expectation. They've built one right here in Boise, Idaho. This is going to be really a wealth generator for the university as the esports industry grows. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and I'm so happy that we have the Alabama of the esports program right here in Boise, Idaho. Boise State Esports just completed a historic weekend. As I said, the Broncos reached 3 national championship matches, Rocket League, Overwatch, and Valorant, and the only program to do so. And they delivered. Um, Starting out the Valorant tournament, a little dicey there in day one. They were highly favored to win over Michigan State. Michigan State took that first game, and even the announcers were kind of going, well, this is kind of odd, that Boise State would drop a game. But Boise State showed their own grit and some adversity. Even though they were highly ranked, they came back and they won 2-1 in that opening day. And then they went on during the weekend and they won the Valorant National Championship. That's national, folks. The program's seventh, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, seventh national title under Coach Doc Haskell. We were proud to be the exclusive media outlet covering the esports championships. We were in constant communication with Riley over there, the esports manager. We got the exclusive quotes from Doc as they survived and advanced in all three of those categories. Recently, we also brought to you Bronco Talk shows featuring Jenny Daydream Cummins, Austin Prestige Julian. He is on the Valorant team. Carter Lyric Jones, and of course we had a standalone Bronco Talk show with Coach Doc Haskell. Put it best, he says, you come to Boise State to win championships. Now, Boise State Esports has launched the Champions Club, giving Bronco Nation a direct way to support a continued success. So I encourage you, go to broncosports.com/esports, and right there on the front page, they will have this all mapped out. There's a 3-step tiered program here. When you invest, you get incentives like some swag, you get a weekly newsletter, and then you also get reserved seating at their home arena here. And if you haven't been there, it's the top of the line. It's an awesome arena, and it's got all the bells and windows, all the bells and whistles that you could think of for a state-of-the-art arena. So championships aren't goals; they're expectations here in the esports program. Then we had some major news today in men's basketball. The transfer portal is open, and there is constant moving, and we're right in the thick of things. I want to thank our friends over at the Boise State Report. They're a huge help in staying ahead of all the news that are coming in the portal. So roster movements always raise questions, but what does this move really say? And according to some of these moves that we've seen, recently we did see Andrew Meadow. He went into the transfer portal. This week he did land with the University of Oregon. Also, we saw Javen Buchanan. He entered the transfer portal, and he has committed to West Virginia, but he's still awaiting that eligibility ruling. So if that does go through for him, he will be a Mountaineer. And then you have Drew Fielder, who's still uncommitted, but there are some serious interests from Nebraska, and it's speculated that there's probably about a $2 million offer on the table for Fielder. So a pretty good hefty price tag for the talent of Drew Fielder. So also Boise State is taking looks at Cal Poly 6'5" guard Caden Ward, and also Abdul Bashir, a 6'7" guard out of Auburn. And then they also had a visit from 6'11" Jacani Diang from North Dakota State College of Science, a JUCO transfer prospect. But the big news today was Boise State men's basketball signed 6'9" forward Jaquarius Standback out of Alabama State, of the South of the SWAC. And he was their defensive player of the year. SWAC, to me, is not a stranger, because we had our show, the Bourbon Beer and Basketball, and we took a deep dive into all those mid majors. So the SWAC was one that we talked about on the weekly. So Standback's name did come up when we did talk about the SWAC. Last season, Standback averaged 8.8 points per game, 5.8 boards per game, and 2 blocks per game. And he shot over 52% from the field. And then again, last week we talked hoops with on our Bronco talk with Damari Wheeler-Thomas during last week's Bronco Nation Live, giving some insight into the program's culture and expectations of him. So this move with Jaquarius, it reinforces Boise State's identity. They are looking for length and defense and physicality, something that I think, and probably a lot of Bronco Nation thought they were kind of lacking. They had a bunch of talent last year on the offensive side, but really missing with some of those lockdown, that guard play, locking the opponent down and securing some of these tight games. And that probably would have been the difference from going into some of these overtime games and getting our heart broken. So identity outlasts personnel. So and I think if they stay true to that kind of identity of length, defense, and physicality, I think with this wild world of the portal and NIL, I think that's the key to any of these programs is lock into an identity, and that'll overcome any personnel. And then that also rings true with the fan base too. It really does take a fan base to give the team that support they need at home. It does. We've seen it with other contenders within the conference. With Utah State, they do they do a lot with less, and their fan base is really top notch. It's something I wish that ours would do. So I really hope that we can follow that suit too, and we can come up with an identity that outlasts any kind of personnel, because coaches, players, even ADs come and go, but Bronco Nation will always remain. Let's talk some football. Football is spring camp is steadily going on. They are putting in the work, and we are only about 8 days out from the spring game. Spring game is next Saturday at Albertson Stadium at 1:30, April 25th. Boise State football held its first spring scrimmage last weekend. That gave a lot of the transfer prospects that came in the offseason and the early freshman commitments time to get acclimated to the program, put in some tough work, and from what I've seen, all looks great. It looks like a lot of emphasis has been taken on tackling. They're getting a lot of reps. As far as quality on that, I don't know yet. But again, because there's still a lot of work to do. I mean, it's April, and we're not even going to know really the true identity of this team until fall camp, and we've got a long summer break. But the spring game is set for April 25th at 1:30 p.m. at Albertson Stadium, and it's one of the best days of the year on campus. It's also one of the best teases there is for a Boise State Bronco fan. because once that's done, then there's a long summer to wait until fall camp arrives, and then a lot of stuff going. But you can always expect that we're going to bring you a lot of content over the off season. We've got expanded football coverage with Blue Turf talk shows. We're going to have Bronco talks, you name it, over the off season. Recently, we did have, we just released a Blue Turf talk with 2026 freshman Connor Legros from Tualatin High. Great interview. If you want to watch that, it's available right now in the YouTube on the YouTube channel. That was a great interview with him. He's been putting in the work over the even though he's not an early freshman, he's been putting in the work. He's adapted his routine to the Bronco routine where he's at. So he is going to be good to go when he gets on campus in May. Also, we just published on the website. We did a Bronco Talk article featuring class of 2028 quarterback commit Zeke Thomas. He is a dual threat. He'll be a junior in the fall for Willamette High. He's put up some insane numbers, both in the air and on the ground. So if you want to read up on him and see what's in the future pipeline for Boise State quarterbacks, read up on him. You never know, with these early commits if they're going to take, but just from doing the research and working with Zeke on this article, it's a 3,000 word article. I went in depth on his history and what he thinks about Boise State. I have a really good feeling that he's going to stick it through, and he really has a passion to put his talent on our iconic blue turf here in Boise. So both of these are live on BroncoNationUpdates.com. So if you want real football insight, not just headlines, that's where you'll find it. You'll find it on our website, and you'll find it on our YouTube channel. So spring doesn't give answers; it gives directions. So there's a lot of ball to go. There's a lot of camp to go. A lot of workouts for these student athletes. So, and that gives them more opportunity to make their way up the depth chart. And this is what it's all about right here is spring, but really, it really gets, the rubber hits the pavement in fall. So I don't like to speculate a lot on spring ball. I just enjoy it. I enjoy seeing, some of these young athletes that we met on the recruiting trail get to the blue, get some experience, and have their opportunity to impress the coaches and get, perhaps put themselves in a good position to get a starting role. Because that's exactly what each and every one of these student athletes wants to do. They want to come to the blue so that they can start and make a presence. And like Connor Legros, he wants to put in the work to earn that legendary status, and perhaps after about 4 years become the next Bronco draft pick in the NFL draft. But that's going to do it for tonight's show here on Bronco Nation Live. Thank you, Bronco Nation, for tuning in for the show. It's a privilege for us to serve you. Please make sure you're subscribed to the Bronco Nation YouTube channel for all your Bronco Nation update shows, the Bronco Talk shows, the Blue Turf Talk, and for all your Boise State updates and recruiting news. We'll see you next time. Take care. Go Broncos.
Community matters, and Blue Elevation proves it. Partnering with Boise State athletes, we bring joy to families in need. Like our Christmas on the Blue Outreach, blessing children from the Boise Rescue Mission. Together with Bronco Nation, we spread cheer, hope, and support at home and abroad. Blue Elevation, where community and compassion meet. Give at bronconationupdates.com/become.